Hello there YouTube. I thought I would do a quick video about fitting a diesel heater to my van. When I was looking for information on how to fit a diesel heater to this specific model of van, a Mercedes Vito facelift with the RM651 engine, couldn't find the details that I was looking for. Lots of videos about sprinters but none specifically about a Vito, so hopefully this helps someone. So starting with the connection to the diesel tank, because that's the point that I'm at and where I've decided to start making the video. I got this template. I found a PDF online, instructions for fitting a Webasto thermotop heater. That's a different kind of heater. That's a diesel fired heater that heats up the coolant, but obviously the connection to the fuel tank would be the same. So I've got the same standpipe and I've pretty much followed the template that they've given. One thing that I would mention is that I've made it a little bit shorter. Got my tape measure and measured from the top of the tank to the bottom, and I've got the depth of the tank at around about 22 centimeters. And then looking at that, the template that they've given has got it going to a depth of 21 centimeters, which is probably a bit too close for comfort for me in terms of maybe running out of diesel. So I've cut it about a centimetre shorter, about 20 centimetres, and I've just followed the same general shape. Interestingly, on this Vito there is a auxiliary connection there, blanked off. Looking at that connection, I can't really see how you would connect to it with any of the usual standpipe or tank connectors. So looking at both this instruction for the Webasto and another standpipe kit that I found on the Butler Technic website, the general advice for these seems to be to use this type of standpipe and to drill a hole in the top of the sender unit, 8mm. So that's what I'm going to do. Right, so that's the standpipe in. I pretty much followed the Webasto template, which leaves the standpipe going down into that little groove in the bottom of the plastic bucket, I guess we can call it. One thing to note, and sorry for the rubbish photography here, the bottom of this sender unit is ribbed, I guess for strengthening because it's made of plastic. So careful where you drill. I shined a torch underneath to see where the ribs were to try and drill away from a rib, but I would also add that tightening up that nut on the bottom of the standpipe a tiny bit at a time with an open-ended spanner was very difficult. So if anyone does figure out a way to use this take-off that Mercedes have provided, which is on the top there and on the bottom there, you would just need to add a bit of hose to it. That would probably be much easier. Right, this is the finished job on the tank. So standpipe coming out, I've just quickly cable tied that fuel line for the heater along with the other fuel lines, and that's going to come out at the front where the van fuel lines do. Getting the tank out of the van is pretty straightforward. There are 4 T30 bolts holding on the fuel flap, but then there is one 8mm hex holding this filler neck into the van. You've got 2 quick connect fuel lines at the front of the tank where they connect to the van. They need to be disconnected before it's dropped. There's also this vent hose which is just poked into a hole in the chassis rail just above. Where was it? Somewhere up here. I'll work it out when it goes back in. And then when you lower it, just be careful. There is one electrical connector that goes to the tank unit that is clipped in here in one place to this vent hose. Other than that, the tank being plastic is very lightweight, so as long as you're pretty low on fuel, getting it in and out should be no problem. Right, just to cover the placement of the heater itself, I've gone under the driver's seat. So my van is a travel liner. It is mostly used as a child bus, so not as a camper. So there isn't too many places that you can go. So I've gone for under the driver's seat. I've got a battery in the front half there with a split charge system across to the other battery. and then the heater itself is in the rear part of the seat base. So this is 2 seats in the front. If you've got 3 seats in the front of your Vito, this will probably be a bit different. It is quite tight in there, but there is space around the heater. I've got the outlet is facing towards the outside door, and then I've curled it round with the pipe that's included, and then the outlet is fitted on the side of the seat box there. Sorry, that's not a very good angle. But yeah, I've just got the inlet drawing heat from under the seat. This is just a bit of kind of loose carpet I've got at the back of here, so I'm pretty sure that airflow to the heater will be okay. But obviously do your own checks for your own van. And just finally, to show the setup underneath the van, I've mounted the fuel pump here on the chassis rail, quite close to the front of the fuel tank where the fuel line comes out. Now this installation isn't quite finished. I'm waiting for some P-clips to arrive so that that fuel line and the wiring for the fuel pump can be clipped up there, and also to this side of the chassis rail here. Obviously the Vito is a rear wheel drive van, so you've got to be careful crossing over the prop shaft. So I've got those, if you can see, just squeezed in between the handbrake cable and the body of the van, and then I will clip that all up securely when the clips arrive. Over here is where the heater comes out on the bottom of the van. I've used the plate that was provided with the kit as sort of an additional heat shield, so I did scrape away the underseal around the holes, but I thought that keeping that plate there would probably add something in terms of keeping heat away from the underseal. You can kind of see it's a little bit tight for space on the Vito. My exhaust, if you can see that, that's worked out quite well. That just is tucked down near the van exhaust, or one of the exhaust boxes. The inlet, I have got that towards the middle of the van, pointing forwards, and again attached to the chassis rail. So this is not recommended in the instructions, but I was happy doing it that way to keep the inlet away from the exhaust. So hopefully that's useful to someone on how to fit a diesel heater into a Mercedes Vito W639 facelift. Just one little disclaimer, this is not meant to be a comprehensive, thorough video on the best way to install a diesel heater safely. Lots of other videos on YouTube for that, make sure you give them a look, but hopefully this helps someone who was wanting to install a heater into this specific van. Thanks.